Hello and welcome back to the Tundra podcast, the podcast where the band Tundra talks about things about the band Tundra. Guys, I'm not
Welcome to
getting
the pit.
welcome to the pit. We might need to start using that because
Yeah.
I do podcasting as like a normal part of my everyday life as far as like my career and stuff, and you'd think I'd be good at this, and I'm not. I am not good at this whole hosting the Tundra podcast thing. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're not here to talk about my bad podcasting abilities. We're here to talk about what does it mean to be a Christian band. Tundra is categorically a Christian band, but we need to talk about what does that mean? How does that fit in with the rest of the scene? What does that mean people think of us? All that Jimmy Jazz. So joined with me today is our bass player, Steven. How's it going, Steven?
It's going.
Yeah, yeah. What's new with you? I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. Got any cool new tunes or anything you've been listening to lately?
Not really. I've been listening to a lot of Daughtry recently, I guess.
Daughtry, yeah, Memory Lane. Well, I actually kind of remember you telling me about that. Is this like the first like real listen through you've done of Daughtry's music?
Of like his whole discography, yeah. I've heard a lot. Like I've known a lot of Daughtry songs here and there, but I've never like been like I'm gonna listen to like his whole discography. And there were a lot of songs that like I heard that I was like, yeah, I know this song, right? And then there are other songs I was like, oh, I didn't know Daughtry did this song. And then there were just a lot of just overall, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. There were a lot of good jams, and
Yeah.
he's just an incredible singer too. He's
Oh my
awesome.
gosh. Yeah, for sure. Incredible singer. I have had some really big Daughtry phases at different points in my life. I own most of his records, and yeah, they get played every now and then. And we also have our guitar player Patrick with us today. How's it going, Patrick?
Hello. Oh, it's going good.
Yeah, anything new with
Uh,
you? I feel like I haven't seen you recently either.
well, I had it's a Strymon delay pedal. It was supposed to show up today. It didn't show up.
Oh,
I have
okay.
to sign for it, and
Oh,
it wasn't here yet. I was anxiously waiting for it today, and it's not here.
it's the meme where
So
it's just the guy leaning on a screen door.
exactly. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
You'll need to do a demo for of
I
the pedal
will. Yeah,
for our TikTok. Hey,
I
the
will.
band Tundra has a TikTok now at Tundra Metal Band, which is the same uh at for our other socials on Facebook and Instagram. But yeah, if you use TikTok, we're on there now and we'll be semi-regularly posting content on there. And hi, I am Screamy Guy Morgan. And I can't stop listening to Sleep Token, guys. I really can't. I kind of I pun not intended, I've been sleeping on them for a long time. Like I've had like my feed when every time they put out new music, my feed on like Facebook and stuff is always like, "Oh, new Sleep Token record rules and stuff." But I've always kind of had the perception of like they're not that heavy and stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to listen to that. If I'm going to listen to metal, I want to listen to real metal, heavy, tough guy stuff. And I finally gave them a chance when they started releasing singles for this new record, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is phenomenal!" So I will be surprised if they are not my most streamed artist for the year on Spotify when Spotify Wrapped happens. I assume that half my Spotify Wrapped will be Sleep Token songs, and I assume they will be my number one artist, and I will not be judged for it. I know Steven loves Sleep Token, right, Steven?
Well, I don't dislike Sleep Token. I don't get what the hype is about. Like I don't think they're bad. I just think that they're better bands out there.
Sure, sure.
They're
I
fine.
like how
They're
they
fine. I don't dislike them.
they surprised me with their transitional phrases.
Yeah,
It
it's hard to.
just blows my mind. I never know where they're going to go. That's what I like about it because usually I can predict a lot of that, and I can't. I
Yeah,
like it.
they
So
keep you on your toes. Not sure
yeah,
what's going to happen. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, so before we get into this podcast, remember to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. Follow us on our socials at Tundra Metal Band on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok now. Haha, we're real cool. Steven's going to do some dances for you there. And if you want to go the extra mile in supporting us, obviously check out our merch store on Bandcamp. And you can also support us at patreon.com/Tundra Metal Band. It's a great way to make sure we have money to get to some of the shows we have coming up this summer. as well as make get the money to make new t-shirts and stuff, and you get to see a lot of YouTube videos early as well. So like this video, if you're supporting us on Patreon, which some of you already have, thank you very much, they probably got to see this video early, so you can do that too, which I think is neat. Yeah, so let's talk about Christian music. What does that mean? Because I've heard people say before, like, well, what does Christian music mean, right? Like anyone could be a Christian, right? But that doesn't mean that the thing itself is Christian. And like you could be a plumber. I think of the example that like the guitar player for August Burns Red said was like, you could be a plumber, but that doesn't make you a Christian plumber. What is that like? What does that mean? Uh, so when we say Christian music, what comes to your guys' minds, and how would you describe Christian music to someone?
I think it's worship ultimately. I don't know. I could probably go down this rabbit hole for a while, but um, it's worship for God. Like we're thanking Him for everything He has done for us, and um, Christian music. In my opinion, Christian music can be any kind of genre. It just depends on what the context of the meaning behind it is. That's a lot of it. Like, why are you doing this? Are you doing this for your own gain, or are you doing it for Jesus? And that's the most important thing.
Yeah, what about you, Stephen? Because I know
What kind of?
you listen to a lot of like Christian music.
Well, sure. I mean, kind of similar to what Pat said. Like Christian music isn't. It's not a genre of music. Christian music can be any genre of music. I think just the main thing that makes Christian music is giving glory to God through music, and that can be done in any genre of music.
Yeah, I can get behind that. I think that's a good way of describing it because I agree that Christian music could be any genre. Like it's not like, you know, the like the Hillsongy, like really long, repetitive U2 style songs, it could be like, whatever kind of music. But what about lyrically? Do you think it always has to be like how Pat used the word worshipful? Does it always have to be that, or can it be other things? Because I would say that maybe about half of the music I listen to is Christian, and maybe about half of it isn't. But even then, when I listen to like Christian bands, a lot of it's not even like worshipful per se. Like I do listen to some of that. Like I really like Impending Doom, who I think are very worshipful a lot of the time. Holy Name is a good example as well. So there definitely like are heavy bands I listen to that are more like Bloodlines, who we've played with before, bands who are like very explicitly Christian lyrically. But then like a lot of it is also uh, more of the perspective of, because I'm a Christian, this is how I view different situations, and so it's less like hallelujah, praise God. It's more like life sucks, but you'll get there. So like that would be more like bands like Red, bands like Demon Hunter, bands like Skillet until semi recently, like a lot of the Fit for a King, So what do you guys think about like that? Where does that, is there a line there? Like, would you say that those
I
are still like, that's still like Christian in its essence, or like what is the
the
line, if any?
the thing I like about Tundra's lyrics is that they're not as literal. So, and the reason why I like that is that we are able to play in bars that might not ever have the opportunity to have Christians playing heavy music that's Christian based. I know there's been people that we played at shows that was like, "Oh, you guys are Christian?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it's just it opens that door of possibilities for people that don't get those opportunities because either they don't want to go to church, or like all the kind of reasons that don't make sense to me, but it opens those possibilities for someone to get saved.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. We've definitely been in situations that you would not expect the Hill songs and
Mm.
and that stuff to be. But yeah, what about you, Stephen? Because you listen to a lot of that kind of stuff, the stuff that's like it's kind of Christian but like not explicitly.
Right. So a lot of it, there's like worshipful songs, and then there's like testimony songs. And
That's
I
a good word
think,
for it. Yeah, I like that.
yeah, because it's like, here are the struggles that that we're going through, whatever. Here's the answer, God. So, yeah. So I think that's like, yeah, they're different. They're somewhat different categories. Um, but it still falls under Christian music as having a song that's more testimonial and having another song that's very worshipful.
Yeah, it kind of like that's kind of how the Psalms are, right? Like the Psalms are like there's plenty of like very worshipful, like God is great, and then there's a lot of like lamenting and angst as well. It just depends on what you're reading. So I think that I like the how you describe it as testimonial. I don't know if I've heard people describe it that way before, but I think that is a really good way of describing it is like, hey, this is something I've gone through. Maybe you've gone through this as well. Hopefully, my story can help you. I was able to get through this because I have faith in a savior who um, is truth in personified. So like that's how I was able to get through it. So I like Stephen using the word testimonial. So why is Tundra a Christian band? So I don't think I've given this story. So it's not a long story. So when Tundra started, it was because I was in college for recording music, and I just wanted to get some practice recording different genres, but I didn't want to mix for a bunch of people. So I just did it myself, and I made like four music projects all at the same time that were all different genres, and Tundra was just the one that sticked. But I quickly realized that our old stuff was a lot more metal oriented, a lot more death metal. Like our new stuff's more like metalcore, hardcore, deathcore kind of stuff. But our early stuff was more death metal, kind of deathcore. And so I was just kind of writing stuff in that vein. And I quickly realized that if I don't, I really don't like the icky like let's sing about death and murder and all these other things that death metal bands sing about. Like even though like a lot of people in metal bands are like normal people, it's like horror movies, it's like the people in horror movies are probably reasonable enough people, probably normal enough people, but then they make horror movies, it's kind of like that with death metal a lot of the time. But it makes me feel icky, and I just didn't want to do that. So I quickly, after writing like two or three songs for Tundra, I quickly realized that if I don't if I don't let my faith get involved in the music, that I will run out of things I feel comfortable talking about very quickly. So it was when I started Tundra, it wasn't like I want to start a Christian metal band, guys. It was just like I have to be real. I have to say like this is where I'm at as a person. This is how I feel about things. This is how I believe the world works. And if I don't do that, I'm gonna make five songs and the band will break apart. But that's how Tundra became a Christian band was necessity because I didn't want to write a bunch of songs about murder. What do you think about that, Steven? Do you think I should have wrote a bunch of songs about like Cannibal Corpse style songs?
No, you definitely shouldn't have done that.
So, what has your guys' been experience been in a Christian band? Because like Patrick said, we have had the experience of getting to play a lot of bars. Like we almost all of our shows have been non-Christian venues. We've played, I think, one church show, and then we've played Chains Unchained, which is a Christian festival. We'll be back there again this summer. See you there. Uh, but most of the shows that we play are just at bars with. Sometimes we play with other Christian bands, like we've played with Convictions, we've played with Bloodlines, but most of the time we're playing with non-Christian bands. And um, what has your guys' experience been like that? Because on one hand, Patrick's right in that we're not like that worshipy. Like a lot of our songs are metaphors. A lot of our songs are more of the testimonial kind of stuff. But have you felt like there's been any pushback or awkward situations because we're a Christian band, or do you think that people have been pretty chill in your experience?
I
I think.
Or no, I go ahead, Steven.
Oh, I was gonna say, for the most part, at least in regards of the other bands that we play with, I feel like for the most part they're pretty chill. Like they don't really um mind that we're a Christian band. It's not like they're going like, "Oh, well, I don't want to play with you guys because you're a Christian band" or anything like that. But I feel like, at least from what Morgan has said before, I believe that uh like the oh my gosh, I can't think of the word. The people who book shows, you know,
Yeah, yeah, like
they seem to not like be on board of it as most others are. They're like, oh, you guys are a Christian band? Nah.
yeah, and I have thought about that before because like in the Kansas City area there are plenty of good bands. And we get plenty of good shows that come through the Kansas City area, and we we're not like an unknown. Like our name is out there and people know about us, and we put out a record, so it's not like we're completely unknown. We're probably not the most popular band in Kansas City. That's probably far from true. But I think we're a good band and we fit the style of a lot of shows that people should need to be looking for bands to, have openers on. And we play a handful of shows a year. So, in my experience, I think Steven might be right that maybe some people have definitely not cared and some people have definitely had preferences. Like when we played with Bloodlines, specifically, that was it wasn't a Christian show per se because there were other bands on it, but they were like, hey, you guys are specifically a Christian metal band from that area, so let's make sure you guys are on the show with Bloodlines, and same thing happened with Convictions when we played with them. So, but in general, yeah, I mean, we play a lot fewer shows than a lot of the other local bands, and it's not from lack of us trying. It's so there definitely has to come a point where the people who are in the know and working at the venues and booking the shows and stuff that like they are. There does come a point where I don't want to put words in people's mouth, but it definitely does feel like we get overlooked sometimes. Or do we just suck? Are we just a bad band? Is that because that's the other option? Is maybe they're just like,
I don't
oh, that
want
band
to. I don't
sucks.
want to say this. I don't want to say this uh, in the wrong kind of way, but I feel like objectively, compared to a lot of the bands that we have played with, a lot of local bands we've played with, I do feel like objectively we are better than a lot of them. Like technically speaking, I just feel like our songwriting is just better. I'm not saying that's completely true for all the bands. Um, just a lot of the more local bands. And like and people they always go crazy when we come up, when we come up play our songs. And I've just personally I've noticed just other bands that we've played with, it doesn't always get that way with other bands that we play with.
Yeah, it depends. Like there definitely are.
Not always. Yeah, it depends for sure.
There's
There
a
are
couple
lot
other local bands I can think of that like kick butt. So
oh yeah, for sure. There's a lot of really good local bands, but we've also played with a lot of not so good ones.
So you think that there is some of that as well, that it's probably more like there comes a point where like maybe yeah, my experience has been that the people in the bands tend to not care, but like maybe the bookers care sometimes.
Right. That's kind of what I think it is.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Well,
my interaction's always been very friendly with like
mhm.
band members. Like they've always been like,
Yeah.
oh, good set, or like, hey, glad you're here, and like
Mhm.
always very friendly.
Yeah.
So I've never had a problem there.
Right.
What about you, Pat?
The bands are cool.
What about you, Pat? Have you had a similar experience or assumptions?
Not
But you know what they say about assuming. We might just be making a fool out of ourselves by.
well, like the only like I guess big interaction I had was uh it was at one of the shows we played, and uh he looked a little different than most people, I'll just say that. And He just told me, "Hey, you guys had a really good set." And when I mentioned, like, "Oh yeah, we're Tundra Christian," he asked me what genre we were. Now I'm remembering now. He asked me what genre we were, and I said we're like deathcore Christian, just something like that. I don't remember exactly, but something along those lines. And he was just very surprised by that. Like, oh, Christian, like, and I I saw it as a good thing because he didn't know that we were even a Christian band. I mean, just just by him being surprised by it and listening to our music, most people would think we would be like a worshipy kind of band, but we're the complete opposite of that, but we're still worshiping. So I I've never had anybody really say anything bad about it. I've had a lot of people be very surprised by it. I've had people at my job, like they've listened to the songs and they're like, "Oh wow, that's you," and I'm like, "Yes, it is." So it's never been like a negative thing. It's more of a wow, that is possible. It is possible to be Christian and be in like a metal kind of band because I mean, I still listen to a lot of metal, of course, but a lot of it is not Christian based. And what I've really enjoyed about being in Tundra, I mean, a part of this is there's that for like me when I was like 15 years old learning how to play guitar and realizing metal was my big thing. I wasn't a believer then, but looking back on things like, man, when I was 15, if I was a believer, I would have liked to have found a band that was like Tundra. Like you just don't hear that very often. Like especially the heaviness that we play at. Like I like Demon Hunter, I like Red, but when Tundra, it's so heavy, but it's coming from a Christian standpoint, which I think would be hard to do. I'm not a good lyric writer, but I can write riffs really well. But I sometimes like read through the lyrics and like, man, these are godly lyrics. Like they're like Steven said, they are testimonial and just I like the album Eternal. I look at that as almost like a progression of a believer in a way. Like Welcome to Hell, it's struggling with whether you want to stay with Jesus or not. And I I look at it almost in like a progressive way, in a
And then it
way.
ends
And
with
I
"You Are," which is like the one song that we
yeah,
have that is like
yeah,
actually this is just a worship
yeah,
song, you know?
yeah. And I oddly like how that whole record is just perfectly laid out, in my opinion. Like it goes through all those main themes of what a believer would struggle with. And whether the believer comes out on top with Jesus, he does at the end. So I don't know if that was intentional, but I just like it that
It
way.
kind of yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, no, I
But
actually, yeah, Pat, I'm a genius. I knew exactly what I was doing the whole time I was doing it. Yeah, there,
yeah.
there's no, no, divine providence here. I'm a genius.
But
That's what it is. But yeah, I agree that, it. I think most people who come to shows, I think most of them don't care that you're a Christian
yeah.
band. Like there are some people, like there definitely
Mhm.
is a category of people specifically online. I'm in these groups, so I know that like they will only listen to Christian metal bands
Mhm.
and they will listen to you solely because you are a Christian band. It's like, well, okay, but like that doesn't mean
Mhm.
all the Christian bands are good, or that doesn't mean that all of the non-Christian bands are bad, you know,
Mhm.
like and then there's on the flip side of that, there is like the extreme of like there are some people who like doesn't matter whether or not the music's good, they'll just not listen to it because it's Christian. But most people don't care. Most people are just like, is it good? Do I like it? Like, especially in a live setting, people are just like, did I want to mosh? And that's all like they just want to have a good
Mhm.
time. And we do. We
Mhm.
bring the heavy, you know, like when the really dumb part in the middle of hostage happens, people lose it. Or like the entire 2 minutes that is undead, people lose it. And that's what they care about. They care about like it
You
just
know
being
what?
like a good
Can I
time.
take back what I said about us being objectively good? Because we have some dumb moments on the album. I'm not gonna lie. Like in Hostage. Like that is so dumb. Why is that on the record?
Because it's awesome, Stephen. I don't know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Insane Steven's favorite song.
Yeah. He said it grew on him.
I
He said
don't. No. I don't mind insane. I just don't like that the whole song is just triplets and chugging, and that's the whole song.
Um, so what do you guys think about this the state of Christian music? I don't know how involved I'm very involved in like the Christian hardcore Christian metal scene. I'm very involved in that. I don't know if you guys are, but like where do you guys feel about Christian metal Christian music in general? Because I think that the Christian music on average should be like the best music, right? Because we're writing it from a godly perspective. We're doing it for something greater than ourselves. And we're using the gifts that God gave us to make art. And so I think of it from the perspective that not all of it, but like on average, a lot of the best music should be Christian. But in practice, I don't think that's true. There's a lot of Christian music that's really corny or really cheesy, or it's like copying something else that's more mainstream. Um, and I've also thought about before that like I think a lot of really good music comes from like brokenness and hurting and stuff
Mhm.
and mental illness, and Christians are just better at dealing with it. So they get out of it like there's no Christian band that could ever match the awesome catchiness, angst, and depression that is 3 Days Grace. Like Skillet tried and they didn't quite get there. So like do you know what I'm saying? Like that, I think a lot of Christian music. I think some of the best music I think is Christian music, but a lot of some of the worst music I know is also Christian music. And to me, that's just like really disappointing and kind of a bummer. I think that's less true in hardcore and metal and rock. I think it is a thing in those genres, but I think it's maybe less true than it is in like, Christian radio and stuff like that. But what do you guys think about that perspective? How are you guys feeling about the state of Christian music versus like non-Christian music and all that?
Well,
I
sure, I
uh,
definitely agree. Oh, you go first.
oh oh um I feel like I don't know if this is true or not, but I feel like there is that resurgence of Christian music as a whole. I don't know if that's just me thinking that or feeling that, but I remember like it was in the 2010s when like the Christian metalcore was like a really big thing. It just really blew up for whatever reason, and then it kind of died out again. But um I maybe it's just because I'm in Tundra and I'm in that world a little more, but it feels like that kind of music is coming back and it is needed. It really is. Like I love I really do like a lot of the contemporary worship stuff, but a lot of it is very repetitive. But it's always refreshing to hear like a harder musically, a harder like sound and more technical sound to the music that is Christian based because I'm a guitar player. Like I don't want to play the same chords all the time. Like I want to do something
You want
a
to
little
play
more.
ones and zeros and triplets, right?
Yeah. It's a little more harder. So, but
All right, you know what? Tundra just sucks. I'm just I take back everything I said. Maybe we do suck.
but it's I don't know. Like Stephen knows this very well, but when I help lead worship at my church, and
Well,
like
so do
some of
I.
the
We both
songs we
do.
do, we both do. But a lot of
Well,
the
Steven plays
songs we
bass, so it
do,
doesn't count.
All right, you know
I
what?
can find
Find your own bass player.
I can find the other vocal melodies to the other songs, and I start playing them because they're in the same. It's the same chord structure of the song that we're playing, but there's a different melody line, and I think it's like
It
I
gets
love doing
bland.
that, but man, yeah, like when you start noticing like when that bridge is going to build, and again, I just I love Christian music, but what I love about Tundra and really just the whole Christian metal hardcore scene is that there is something there for people that like that kind of music. It's I don't know, it's just a blessing in my opinion. So
Steven.
Well, I definitely agree when you said that like Christian music absolutely can be corny. I think Mm, there are just some genres of music that like it just gets cornier. Like I think Christian rap is pretty corny. Uh just all of it. I'm not saying it's bad. There are some good Christian rappers out there for sure, but like every like it is a little corny at times. But I think that's fine. I mean, because in the end, they're still doing it for uh to praise God or as a testimonial, and they're just using the music that they like and that they want to write to do that. So I think it's fine. I mean, yeah, it can sound corny sometimes, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that to a point, I mean,
Yeah, I guess that's kind of true. Yeah, but some of it's cheese. Yeah.
some of it's a little cheesy, sure, yeah.
So I kind of am in the camp of like that's kind of where I like Tundra being. I like that Tundra's in this spot where we are a Christian band. I'm always happy to talk to people about those, deeper theological questions before or after a show. And it's obviously something that affects my songwriting, but we'll do the occasional like psalmist kind of songs that are like an actual worshipy song. But then we'll also have just a lot of songs that are like, because I'm a Christian, this is the way I would deal with this situation. My cat's circling around me like a shark, and it's making me uncomfortable. And but that's kind of where we are right now, and I think that's a good place for Tundra to be. If unless you guys think we should just go like full like holy name, it's just like worship songs with breakdowns. But we,
I think we should maybe once in a while. Yeah.
yeah, maybe once in a
Why
while.
not? Why not? I mean, it's cool.
It's kind of cool. All right, last question. Last question. Is Christian metal satanic? Okay,
That statement.
you guys got a lot of old people in your church. You don't think any of them are like, oh, you guys are into that scary music, like It's something that people have been asking since the '80s with Striper. All right, in the '90s with DC Talk. All right.
Striper and DC Talk. No, that's preposterous. If
your
you
answer?
listen,
Is that your
that is my
theological?
answer.
That's your theological like
That is
breakdown?
preposterous. It's just a dumb question. Your Christian band, is it satanic?
No, but it's because it's metal. Isn't
But,
metal?
yeah, right.
Metal is the
That's
devil's
stupid.
music.
No,
Okay,
God does not. God owns all genres of music.
Mm.
Okay, I don't like. It's not like. I mean, like we've mentioned earlier, like Christian music can be any genre of music. Just because it's not the contemporary Christian radio songs, it doesn't mean it's not. It's not, Christian.
Yeah, what would you say, Pat? Someone in your church, an elderly lady, she means well. She means well. She comes up to you and says, "Sonny boy, I'm just really worried about this like screamy music you're into. Are you sure you're safe? I want you to do the work of the Lord, but I'm scared you're summoning demons in the mosh pit." What would you say to this poor old lady who she means well, but she's not sure what
First
she's
of all,
talking
this
about?
poor old lady doesn't know what a mosh pit is. Okay.
What would you say to the lady, Pat?
I would say read our lyrics and know that they are biblically or theolo biblically backed by what the Bible says. And like, I grew up Lutheran. I wasn't a believer when I was Lutheran, but it was a lot of the hymns. We never did any of the contemporary music. We did hymns. So
So that's even more extreme than
it's
Steven's
yeah,
example.
that is because I mean, I doubt it, but you never know. There could be some Lutheran out there that thinks the contemporary stuff is satanic, and you only do the
Oh,
hymnal
they got
stuff because
electric
it's old.
guitars. Watch out.
Yeah, yeah. So I think I think the important part for Tundra is to remain true in that. Just to remain true in our beliefs and our just just what we do on a daily basis. Like
Hmm.
really just do things for Jesus. And um yeah. So I don't know. But
I've definitely seen like comments on Facebook about not like on my own post, but like on
mm,
like public Christian metal posts and stuff like Kingdom Core and stuff like that. That people like
mhm,
troll and be like, how
mhm,
it's like, wow, you took the worst genre of music and then also Christianity and you put it together and you somehow made this. Or, they'll say either something
mhm,
trolly like that, or there'll be people who come in and be
mhm.
like, this can't possibly be Christian because it sounds like that. And I just
Well,
and I
yeah.
haven't ever had to have those conversations with people, but like
Hmm.
Steven's point that like God owns all genres
Hmm.
is like the thought process that I have. It's along the
Hmm.
lines of uh don't give the devil power that he doesn't have.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
he has the power to like twist and manipulate, but he can't
Hmm.
create. All
Yeah.
things belong to God. And and there are lots of things that you could use for good or use for bad. You know,
Hmm.
you could, use a chainsaw to trim a maze, trim a hedge for the elderly lady who next door, or you could use that chainsaw to, you know, uh, make your own reality documentary on Netflix, that all
Hmm.
the anxious white girls are going to say, be like, I can't believe he did that. So there's lots of tools that can be used for good and bad. And I think
Hmm.
music is much in the same way because like that's true with like, a lot of pop music. It sounds fun and innocent, but then like they literally will use demonic imagery. And like
Yeah.
uh, you just don't even a lot of the like non-Christian metal bands, even a lot of them won't use the scary imagery. So it's just weird that these like pop stars will use it. But like yeah, don't give the devil power he doesn't have. All things belong to God, and any tool that exists can be used for good or bad. And the fact that like they're like, oh well, it sounds like demons. Okay, first of all, well, how do you know what a demon sounds like? Do you need help? Do you need someone to come pray over your home? And even then, like it's like I'm just being technical. It's basically the same thing as like how babies cry. They do like that yell cry kind of thing. It's basically the same thing that we're doing. So, would you say a baby sounds like a demon? What's wrong with you? So like it is kind of more along those lines. It's kind of how I've always thought about it. Is like um yeah, just like use anything can be used for good, anything can be used for bad, and all things belong to God. So yeah, that's kind of how I've always thought about it. But I wanted to, since we were on this topic, I wanted to see what you guys thought about the statement that Christian metal is actually evil. But yeah. All right. Any final thoughts before we head out?
Hit like and subscribe. I don't know.
Yeah, hit like, subscribe,
Yeah.
follow us on socials. We have several shows coming up in July. If you can come out, you should make it. We are playing Chains Unchained again this summer. We also have a show in Kansas City. We have a show in Leavenworth, Kansas. We have several shows coming up in July. Check out our socials to see when those are happening. We have a couple other shows that are also kind of in the works that may or may not happen. So our July is stacked. All right, come see us. Go buy our record, listen to it wherever you listen to music, all that good stuff. And we'll be back with another podcast episode sometime in the near future. Bye.